Greetings, Internet faithful. How are you? Happy Saturday to one and all. I am some guy named Rob, and my boy's behind me. As you can see, I'm not currently in my usual office. I'm not even on my usual computer. You've probably noticed the stream has kind of an odd aspect ratio to it, or may have an odd aspect ratio to it because of the fact that I'm on a different computer. What I'm trying is I'm trying to put together a stream for people who hear about what I do, that I make electronic music, that I put together a YouTube channel, that I do video editing, that I do all this kind of stuff, and people assume it's incredibly, incredibly expensive. It's not. Even my boy behind me, you can probably hear him in my microphone. He agrees. Again, he's acknowledging it. He's on board. He understands this. It's not incredibly expensive to do this. So what I'm doing right now is kind of an experimental stream. I'm on my Daily Driver laptop. My Daily Driver laptop, we'll get to that in a moment, but it's basically the same spec as something that you can get for very, very budget-oriented prices. Everything that I'm running in terms of software is 100% free. So right now I'm in OBS Studio, which I haven't used in ages, which is why none of my overlays are there, none of my sounds work, and it's why I wasn't even able to hear Hertz on Point, who gave the follow. Thank you, sir. Very much appreciated. But I'm using OBS Studio to stream. I'm going to be using VCV Rack free version, along with all three modules in order to create the music that we're going to use, that we're going to make today. And I'm using Audacity for all of the editing. And then I have another program called Kdenlive, which is a 100% free video editor, which is actually pretty good. It's what I've been using for my last few videos to post to YouTube. So with that in mind, let me get to the chat, because I haven't really been following chat for the first few minutes of this stream. So I do apologize while I've been doing my long-winded intro. Lemur, Hertz, welcome to the stream. Welcome. Happy Saturday. Happy Easter weekend. Lemur, always been an advocate for learning something on really shitty or free equipment. It makes you a better creator in the long term. I would agree to a point. I think limitations are a very, very important part of art. Constraints make you a better artist. Having open, unlimited options gives you option paralysis. It causes you to overthink, and it also, having too many resources available, you just throw too much in there. Things get too busy. Things get to be too unwieldy, as it were. Now, what you're hearing right now is actually a track that I posted when? Let me take a look at this. April 3rd, 2022, so 2 weeks ago. I posted this track called Waiting Patiently for Daybreak Beneath the Surface. This is a track that was created using this method. I was using a different computer, but other than that, everything is the same. I was using VCV Rack, free version, free modules. I did all of my editing in Audacity, which is free. And the video I created and ultimately posted to YouTube to feature this track so I could easily play it on my stream was done in Kdenlive. So everything is, I practice what I preach. I actually created this track on my Daily Driver, well, not my Daily Driver laptop, but on one of my laptops while I was downstairs here in the living room, just sort of futzing around while the boy watched cartoons. He's behind me now, but usually he's on the couch over here. The dogs were just sort of relaxing. I was sitting in my chair, which is where the boy is now behind me. I just had my feet up, opened up VCV Rack, put together a patch, and then just went with it. So, that is the story of that. You can do it. It is possible. So here we go. Hertz, sorry for the refollow. I actually was messing around with stuff and unfollowed my entire list of people. Oh, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. If I do not hear anything, um, if I don't see things in my activity monitor, because once again, I have single laptop, single monitor, built-in webcam for all of you. I'm using a very simple USB plug-in headset, wired. This is nothing fancy. This is nothing that the average student or average amateur with a computer could not do. The only difference is, yes, my daily driver laptop is something of a luxury item because I'm rocking a Surface Laptop 4, which is one of those really thin, sleek, light type of laptops. Those really kind of sexy niche type of things. I got a really great deal on eBay, so I picked one up. Otherwise, it would be just the specs that I have are nothing tremendously special and nothing that you couldn't get in a laptop that you could get at Best Buy or off Amazon for literally 1/4 the price of what this thing would retail for if I had bought it at full retail price. And that's the reason why the aspect ratio is all screwed up, because the Surface lineup from Microsoft has a 3:2 aspect ratio for the screen. So it doesn't really deal well with 1080p. So I kind of have to stream in a weird aspect ratio. So if things are looking a little bit off, that's why. Now you know. Insert rainbow here. Anyway, sorry, insert non-Nyan-Cat rainbow here. Okay, Hertz. Don't know very much about modular synthesis, would like to learn. Okay, well, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to teach, but one of the things that I highly recommend, very seriously recommend to you, is to go to a YouTube channel. And actually, it's kind of funny because I'm going to be on that. The patch we're going to be creating today is going to be based off a patch from this particular channel. I have learned a lot. Yeah, showing my age there. Of course, I'm showing my age. I've got a foot-long white beard. I'm already showing my age. My age is never been in question. I'm old as shit in internet years. But what I recommend, this channel that I just posted in there is a YouTuber called Tiny VCV Patches, and what he does is puts together very, very small modular synth patches. Like the one you see on screen is actually one of his. We're going to be using the one that's on screen. We're going to be basing around this particular patch to create a sound. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to turn off the sound of the track that I myself created, and we're going to lower the volume, fade it out nice and easy. There we go. Turn that off. Okay, we're back in VCV Rack. We're going to come here. Subbed to learn more. Would you like to know more? That's showing my age. Starship Troopers. Hell of a movie. Totally brainless. Absolute brainless, mindless fun. It's wonderful. All right, it looks like my library has an update to do. So what I'm going to do is switch scenes for a second, so I can close close that down and restart it. As my boy voices his approval for my. He voices my approval. This is Audacity, by the way. If you've never seen it, it's also free. I can post a link later on. The dog has decided I need more cowbell, apparently. Ellie, Ellie, cut it out, dog. There we go. Okay. So let me go ahead and restart VCV. And yes, more cowbell. I'm also showing my age there. We're going to update VCV. All of my modules are going to be up to date. This is a great thing about VCV Rack. It's constantly being updated. And we're going to restart that, and that will make it easier for me to switch back to it in a second. Here we go. It is reopened. All of my modules are up to date. Transition back. There we go. Monty Python style of brainless. Monty Python is awesome. No, but Starship Troopers is not the same type of brainless as like a Monty Python. Starship Troopers is like the pure popcorn movie that you can turn your brain off and watch. It's an action schlock film. But if you look at it beneath the surface level, it is an exceptional, and I mean an absolutely brilliant satire of um, a lot of things. Colonialism, militarism, the whole might makes right movement. It's very, very, very well done. Paul Verhoeven is an amazing director. Um, if you like the first RoboCop movie, the original RoboCop movie, and you get the satire of capitalism culture, you will love Starship Troopers. All right, I'm going to turn up the cartoons for the boy because he seems to be a little distraught that I'm speaking a little bit over his cartoons. So we're gonna fix that. We're gonna give him a little bit more volume, a little bit more cowbell. Oh, he wants to be changed too. He's brought me a change. So give me a second here. I'm just gonna mute this. I'm just gonna turn this webcam off. Give me 2 seconds here. We're gonna go and we're gonna turn off the webcam and we're gonna transition out of the. There we go. Fade out the webcam. Give me a moment. I will be right back and we're gonna get started with this. Okay, we are back. We are back. Yes, duty does call. Thankfully it wasn't a double duty. It was only a number one, but it had some heft to it. Let me adjust my camera here. Make sure I'm properly in frame. Yeah, and X making sure that I do not slack. I also got him a snack while it was up. Got him a drink. I got myself a drink, a nice refreshing Coke Zero Sugar. I'm not sponsored. I just like the taste. Okay, so here we go. VCV Rack 2, Virtual Modular Synthesis. You'll notice it's not making any noise right now in spite of the fact that there is no start button. The reason for that, let me see how smooth it'll go with the trackpad for two-finger zoom. I have to click in here, two-finger zoom. Not a huge fan of it, but I'll make it work. I like the trackpad, but I don't like how VCV works with a trackpad necessarily for pinch zoom and stuff like that. But what's great for it is your two-finger side-to-side scroll, as well as your two-finger gesture for up and down scroll. This works really well. But we're going to zoom in here, and you can see the basics of modular synthesis are you have an oscillator that makes noise. you have filters that impact the sound of that oscillation, and then you throw on a lot of you can throw on some other stuff. And I know that's horribly reductive, but really what it boils down to is this patch here. I have a clock. This clock is set to 357 BPM. I didn't create the patch. What this does is it will feed what's called a burst generator. And then there's a subdivision here. So 357 BPM, you can have that on like constant. Or you can divide it as quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and 32nd notes. So musical notation. You're just subdividing your beats. So this clock is going at 357 BPM, but it's only triggered once every 32 beats. We divide the clock by 32, then it hits a trigger. That trigger basically sets off a set of pulses. Those pulses do two things. It opens up the gate on a sample and hold, or one side of a sample hold. The other one is triggered directly by the clock. The other thing that this will do, that these pulses feed, is this thing here, this Organ 3 by Squinky Labs, which is basically a very teeny tiny modular synth version of the type of organ that you would find like in an old blues band or even a church. These are the drawbars. If you've ever seen an old analog Hammond organ, that's basically this in a small box. These are your virtual drawbars. You can modulate all of this. And in fact, the sample hold is set to modulate these. So these two values will change over time, giving a little variation to the sound. It's also being run through what's called a quantizer, meaning that it's not just one oscillation making a single noise. It's being moved to a scale. So if my math and brain are working in sync, that's going at about 11 BPM, something like that. Yeah, it's amazing when you see the clock values and you go, what the hell? Who the hell would program something at almost 360 beats per minute? That's insane. That's 6 beats a second. And then you realize it's being divided by 32 and you go, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. Now, yes, if you wanted to, you could take this number way down and then just use a different output. So instead of dividing by 32, you're dividing by 8, but that would change this main trigger here for the burst generator. So you're balancing forces here, and we're actually going to mess with the settings a little bit. So the long and the short of it is this is going to generate a burst of pulses. These pulses are going to be at different pitches. How wide the pitches can be, like how many octaves apart, the range of tones will be determined by what's called this VCA, a voltage-controlled amplifier. Right now it's set to 37%, so you're getting about 3.5 octaves of play. Those 3.5 octaves are going to go through what's called a quantizer. The quantizer is set to a scale. So we have 1, 2, 3 sharps. I don't remember my circle of fifths, but that will give you what keys it would be in, either the relative major, relative minor. So you can play around with the quantizer and give it different notes. So for example, if we took all of these small keys out, these short keys representing the black keys on a keyboard, and we just lit up all the other ones, which would represent the white keys on a keyboard, we would be in either C major or A minor, because both of those scales have no sharps or flats in them. In fact, that's what we're going to do. We're going to put this in a different key. There we go. We've taken out all the sharps and flats. We don't have to use all of the notes, but we are now we can now be in the key. We can float back and forth between the key of C major, A minor. The reason why that's important is because this is one voice or one section of a patch. If we start layering patches. So, which we're going to do, by the way. I need to be able to make sure that what I'm doing is going to stay in key. And I have two to choose from. So I can choose if I want to be in C major or maybe I want to be in A minor. And I can program different other modules to be in those keys, and they'll still be, in sync and in key with the rest of it. So, oh, by the way, I don't know a ton of music theory. It's just I happen to know C major, A minor, no sharps, no flats. That's from your circle of fifths. You can look it up online. I'm the last person who should be teaching music theory. I used to be pretty good at it. These days, not at all. Anyway, the output of this organ is going to a delay. This is a delay unit here called a chronoblob. It is synced right here to the master clock. So this wire right here traces all the way back to this 357 BPM. So everything is synced up. The type of delay that it's on right now, what is it on right now? If I right click and I take a look, it is on called a toggling. No, it doesn't really tell me what it is. Oh, it's in a looping delay. Okay, this is a looping delay. This looping delay has a little bit of panning to it, and not a whole heck of a lot. It is at about 45% feedback and about 37% wet dry. You can see by hovering your mouse over the various controls. The outputs of the stereo delay go into a stereo reverb called plateau, which is set kind of dry. I usually like my reverbs a little more wet, and because this is put together by somebody else, they put in this neat little module here to let you know that all of the red cables are audio. So in this particular patch, anything that has a red cable is an audio signal. So this is the first time you get audio, which is this organ thing. This organ module outputs to the left-right channel of the chronoblob, which outputs to the left-right input of the plateau, which outputs to the left-right of our audio module, which is currently not set to play sound through anything. Anything that is blue is a clock, trigger, or gate, which makes sense. Everything coming out of the clock is blue. The clock inputs and the trigger inputs and all of the gate ins and outs are blue cables, blah, 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 blah. I don't really care about this. I'm going to delete this, and I'm not really going to follow the code. What I am going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit because we're going to need more modules. We're also going to lower the cable tension because you can do that, and you can make the cables kind of floppy, which is cool, or you can make like the cables really way too long and way too floppy, but that's a little messy. So we're going to do that there. So that is that as far as the patch goes. C major is what I was told all the white keys would put you in. Yes, okay, so C major, you are right. C major is the major key where all the white keys are involved. So the scale of C major is, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Okay, alphabeting is hard on a Saturday morning. However, every major key has what's called a relative minor key. And it just so happens that, and the way you find that out is through what's called the circle of fifths. The relative minor key to C major is A minor. The scale of A minor goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G with no sharps or flats. They're not actually the same key or the same scale because they have a different root note, but they are relative to each other, the relative minor to the major scale. So if it's kind of cool if you have a chart of the circle of fifths. It can actually help you with progressions in terms of your, like, how to how to add movement to a piece of music, because you can start in a major key, and without changing any of the notes, you can pivot right away to a minor scale, do a minor run for, let's say, a bridge or a breakdown, and pivot right back into a major key without ever having to change the notes you use. All you're doing is shifting where where the tonic is, where the bass note is, which is kind of cool. All right. With that being said, we're going to take out the guide, because I'm going to be using different colored cables. I'm not going to follow the same color coding because I can do it. It's just it takes a long time, and like real cable management is a pain in the ass as it is. Virtual cable management is actually even harder, because I have to go and manually like figure out what color of everything I want. And I'm not into that. I'm not into that noise. So what we're going to do, we're going to set an output device. So I have let's see if this works. This should go through my headset. And if all goes well, nothing happens, there we go. And now you guys can hear it. Good. I had a bitch of a time getting this to work last time. I'm glad I remembered how it works. It's actually easier to set up in OBS Studio than it was in Streamlabs. Okay. So as you can see by this one here on the quantizer, let me zoom in on this. So you can see all of these pulses that are being hit, and it's triggering notes, as you can see by the keys lighting up. These notes go through this little organ sound, and then the delay, the looping delay, is just given from this. If I bypass this, you can still hear the reverb. Oh, pretty basic. Kind of basic sounding. Let's add these back. Let's unbypass. Now, if I wanted to get even fancier, I can change these delay modes. So I can go from a delay mode of a loop to a ping pong. Actually, sorry, now it's a looping delay. It was a ping pong, actually. I can change to this delay mode with a cascade. So it cascades from left to right. If you're listening to this in headphones, it'll make more sense. Now, this switch here is actually very important. It means it'll crossfade between modes or any changes that I make to the delay, so it doesn't all get all glitchy like delay pedals would. If you've ever played with a delay pedal on a guitar or on anything and you've started changing settings, it gets really fucked up for a few seconds until it clears itself out. This will just like seamlessly crossfade. All right, let's go to the next mode, which is what? So a dual delay. All right, so this is back to the ping pong. I kind of like the ping pong delay. So there we go. Okay. Now it's just going to keep doing this. This is what's called a generative patch. It's using the randomness of the clock and the burst to determine where the notes are going to fall within this range. And this range becomes very important. This VCA range determines how many octaves you can have, because modular synths work on a principle called 1 volt per octave. So from 0 to 1 volts is an octave. 0 to 2 volts is 2 octaves. minus 1 volt to positive 2 volts is 3 octaves, 1 octave down, 2 octaves up, etc., etc. And you can set this in your sample hold. In fact, if we right-click, I think our range right now, we are in from 0 to 10 volt mode. Meaning that if I open up this VCA all the way, you're going to hear some super high screechy sounds that you're not going to like. It's actually going to be painful to listen to. Like, it'll get really super ear-piercing. So we want to avoid that. If I were to set it from 0 to minus 10 volts, these would all be really, really low. You would get into like subharmonic rumbling. And if you were to put enough power or turn up your speakers enough, you would actually damage them. In fact, back in the early 2000s, they sold a couple of very specific modules that were effectively modular, small modular synths, but they were marketed toward guitar players. And so what they would do is they would tell you, be very, very careful with your volume, because if you turn your volume up too much and your patch is set up a certain way, you're going to blow the shit out of your amplifier. You are going to destroy and shred your speakers. So I want to keep this as non-painful for everybody to listen to as possible. Now, as pretty as this is, it's not doing a whole hell of a lot. And what I mean by that is it's just sort of doing its thing and repeating in its bursty, sort of burstiness. Yeah, it makes sense. That tracks. What we want to do is add some movement. Yeah, go for it, Hertz. Where are you going to send it? Are you sending it through Twitch? Are you sending it through Discord? I just need to know, because I don't have Discord open right now, except on my phone. So I just want to know where the question's coming in, just so I can be on the lookout for it and I don't forget. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to mute this, but we don't have a mute button. You know what? Discord works because I can still access it on my phone. And if you want to put in, if you want me to answer it on stream, I can do that as well. Or you can toss it right in the chat here if it's something, and I can do what I can to answer right on stream, if that's something that that works for you. But while you're doing that, by the way, my chat's over here in case you're wondering. I'm still downstairs. I still have Mrs. Rob's computer. I will be ordering a second monitor, a portable monitor that can connect to this bad boy via USB. So that way I can have a second monitor, do everything from one computer, stream nicely, and I don't have to go back and forth with the whiplash thing. So it's coming. All right, we need to add a mute button here. So we're going to right click. And as you can see, I have a lot of modules. These are all free, by the way. And later on, I'm going to show you how you can get all these for free. But I'm going to go into my search, and I'm going to find something called, M-A-S-T-E-R, Master. I'm looking for this module here, the Master Volume module. I am going to take my right and move that. I'm going to take my right and move that. And now you can see like my cables are now starting to become different colors. But what I can do is I can do this. I now have a mute button, which means that I can go, whoops, I have to be careful with my two finger gestures, because if I tap on it, it'll think it's a right click. So we're going to move this over. The great thing about virtual modular synthesis is I can just sort of move things over. As you can see on these modules, these are actually virtual screws. If you were doing a Euro Rack style modular synth, you would actually physically screw them into the rack, meaning that if you wanted to add something, you would have to take this, undo 4 screws, move it over to the correct location, screw these back in after you placed your other module next to it. Pain in the rear. But we're going to go here, we're going to go to record. or we're going to type in REC. There's a module here that lets us record our audio directly from VCV Rack as a WAV file or as, actually, let me right click on it. You can record as a WAV, you can record as an AIFF, you can record as a FLAC, an M4A, or directly to MP3. You can do that. We have the technology. It is pretty screwy, Lemur. It's very screwy. It is incredibly screwy. It is so screwed. And if you mess it up, you're screwed too, because you have to unscrew and then you have to move it over again. Like for example, I'll show you. Like let's say I wanted to put another master volume in here. You see this takes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screw spaces. I only have 4 screw spaces available, which would mean that I'd be screwed. I'd have to unscrew, move over, screw in again, and then screw in my other module. That's a lot of screwing to do. I mean, eventually you get tired. You get tired of screwing that much in a morning. But this, I can just slide it over, or I can slide it up, slide it down, whatever I need. So what I'm going to do here is from my master volume, I'm just going to come into my, actually that's the wrong one. That should be my right input. That's my left input. So now I can record what we're doing. And as you can see, the meters are going to show that there is a signal going in. That is the strength of the signal. There's no signal coming out to the headset monitoring which would go through OBS because I have this muted. If I turn this back on, my meters go. Okay. So far, so good. We haven't done a whole hell of a lot, but we've actually done a ton. I come out here, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And we're going to move over here. Sent through Discord. Answer when you can. I will take a look at the question. Oh, you know what? Actually, Hertz, if I'm not terribly busy, and I don't believe I will be, I can definitely help you get started. I don't know how long I'll be able to go. Mrs. Rob is at a craft and vendor show until 4 p.m. today, and we're in the same time zone, so I do have a couple of hours free. Because she's going to tear down, she's going to want to give me a call and stuff. But yeah, absolutely, I can definitely give you a hand. Hertz, by the way, will be building a PC on Livestream later today, so give Hertz a follow if you haven't already. For those of you who are out there. By the way, for those of you who are out there this morning, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you too, Hertz. I mean, it's a Saturday morning. It's a long weekend. Probably tons of people are with their families doing stuff for Easter. You've chosen to hang out with me, which touches me in 2 different ways. Both of them are completely platonic, I can assure you. One is you appreciate hanging out with me, and 2, you would rather hang out with me than your own family. And I can appreciate that. As someone who doesn't enjoy really hanging out around huge family gatherings, I can totally appreciate that. All right, back to what we were talking about. What were we talking about? Okay, we were talking about adding a mute button. We've done that. We've added the ability to record. We've done that. But how are we going to add any type of movement and variety to this signal? That is the question. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this signal path. And we're going to modulate the second signal path and blend it with the original. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh wow! Subscribed with Prime from the Lemur. The Lemur subscribing with Prime. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, I got myself a really nice rack. You know, when they say guys can't have a nice rack, look at it. Look how nice this rack is. It's gonna, but you know what? I'm gonna make my rack bigger. Like a lot of guys, I like big racks. I'm gonna make my rack that much bigger. So I'm moving this down. Here's the cool thing that you can do in VCV. I can copy. So click and drag. No, actually, you know what? I don't even have to do this. I can just duplicate this one. I'm going to duplicate this one because I don't have to duplicate any of the other stuff. I'll show you why in a second. What I am going to do is I'm going to put an oscillator in here, a low frequency oscillator. I'm going to put a mixer. Now the question is going to be, what type of mixer do I want? I am going to go with the Mixmaster Junior. It's kind of my favorite mixer. We're going to move you over. We're going to move you over. We're going to move you over. I'm going to leave this space open for now. But what we're going to do, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my fader in. A master fade. Yes, I do enjoy master fading. I will not lie. I like a big rack. I like to master fade. Don't judge me. This is my channel. If you don't enjoy big racks, if you don't like to master fade, that's up to you. But this thing here, this master fader right here, big. It's amazing. And I'll show you why it's so amazing in a little bit. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of this over. And again, I don't have to worry about getting screwed. When I do this, I can just move it all over as one big unit because, when you got a rack this big, you need a unit that's equally capable to the task. We're going to right click and I need basically an on-off switch, a master switch to turn everything on, everything off. So here is my trigger. And we're going to start hooking everything up. Now, my boy's excited. You can hear him in the background. I'm almost certain does he actually come in? How loud is he in the microphone? I just have to ask. Because I don't always go back and watch these live streams, but how loud is he in the microphone? Let me know in chat. Okay, so we're about to get triggered. So trigger warning, all right? Trigger warning, if all the talk about big racks, big units, and master fading hasn't been enough for you, trigger warning, we got a trigger module right here. Okay, at least he's not drowning me out. That's a welcome change. He's actually incredibly loud behind me. All right. So what does all this crap that I've just finished adding do? Because if we come here and we hit the unmute all this, it's still very nice, pretty, kind of. This sounds like something that could be out of the first Deus Ex video game. Speaking of making myself feel older than dirt. But this is something that could have been out of the Deus Ex franchise, out of the soundtrack. Like quasi cyberpunk, maybe a tiny little touch of a vaporwave going on here. Really tiny, like supremely tiny, like. But it's there. However, we have this. It doesn't. Yeah, it's doing stuff. But anyway, we're gonna mute that for now. So what we need to do now is we need to kind of put everything back together in a slightly different way. And we're going to start with our audio chain. The output of our main mixer from the left channel is going to go into our delay. And the output of our main right is going to go into the right side input of this delay. Yes, Deus Ex. You know what, Lemur? I'm going to keep dating myself backwards in time to the point where if by the time I get to the end of the stream, I cannot sufficiently tie in something like the Commodore 64 or the Amiga into this, I have failed as a live streamer. Oh, my boy's done his snack and he is demanding more. We're going to take a little bit of a break on the snacks, bud. It's 10 in the morning. You've already had a snack and you've had a very large breakfast. Oh, I know. I know. Day of sex. Yes. No, you know what? Yes, Deus Ex, short for Deus Ex Machina, video game series was started by Ion Storm. Now it's under Square Enix, Squeenix, Squanix, what I don't care. Square, I don't care what they call themselves these days. They fucked up the franchise, is what I'm saying. Um, anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're going to get into that in a second. And what we're going to do, we're going to start doing some rerouting of audio. And the cables are going to look a little messy for a bit. And the reason why they're going to look a little messy is because honestly, cable management, it's virtual. I don't have to. If this was actually a rack I was performing with, I wouldn't have the cables routed nearly this way. I would actually move the modules around so the cable lengths were as short as possible and the fuck out of my way. But that's that. Okay. So now what we need to do, we need to go left input to the output here, right to the output here, and you can see now in the mixer we get like these nice little fader things that light up that let us know that we have stuff going on. So if I unmute everything, actually let me turn the monitor on to let the signal pass through, and I turn this back on, everything sounds the same. All we've done is make the signal path a little bit longer, but we've done it for a purpose. And we're going to keep that monitor thing turned on for a second. Now, what we want to do is we want to have it set up so everything is controlled by one button. We're not there yet. Spaz. Spaz is, where is the mouse for? Yes, Spaz is fine. Spaz is fine. Why was that taken out? My auto mod is stupid. And you know what the worst part is? Speaking of Spaz, hey Spaz. The worst thing is I've turned off the auto mod for this channel like 10 times. I should have no auto mod on this. Even my boy behind me agrees I should have no auto mod on this channel. He totally is 100% behind me, literally and figuratively. And even with all of that, I still can't get the fucking thing to turn off. Spaz, how you been? Welcome to the stream. I believe this is the first time I've seen you in here. If it's not and I've missed you before, I'm very sorry. We are in the midst of creating something pretty from something that's already pretty. So this is what we have so far. This is what you're listening to now is a variation on a patch that was created by someone else. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of adding to it and kind of doing my own variation on it again. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to mute that for a minute. Mesmerized by the visuals already. I need a master mute on. Oh yes, I need a master mute on the auto mod. I need an Alt F4 on the auto mod. Again, backward dating myself. Let's go. I'm down to DOS. I'm down to DOS, Lemur. I'm back to DOS. I've already skipped past Windows 3.1 and 95 to go all the way to DOS. That's how old school we're going. Okay. So we have our signal path. We have our bursts. The bursts go through our VCA, which is set from 0 to 10 volts, which means we have 3 octaves, a little bit more than 3.5 octaves because we're at 37%. It gets per bits of octaves count. That is being quantized to a C major / A minor scale. That's going through the organ sound, which is set up in a particular way. Then it goes into the mixer, out of the mixer, into reverb and delay. Ta-da! So, what does all that mean? Well, it means we now got to fuck with the signal. That's the fun part. We're now in the fun part. We've added some shit so we can fuck around with it. So what we're doing is we now have this organ which matches this one. We do have to hook up the cables though, and that was one of the things that I did not do, was make sure that the cables are hooked up. So this one here and this one here both seem to get hooked up to the same place. So we're going to start with this volt per octave, which goes there. The gate is provided by the pulses that are here. I don't know if I want to. Do I want to? Yeah, I want to use the pulses. Of course, I want to use the pulses. That's the whole point of this. We'll try moving this a little bit later. Don't worry if none of this makes any sense to you. It makes no sense to me at all either. We're also going to go ahead. We're going to hook up the output of this to the output of this. What else do I have? See, we got pulses everywhere now. Pulses everywhere. It's not as old of a meme as DOS, but like there's no memes in the DOS era. We didn't have memes in the DOS era. You know what we had? We had chain letters and we had faxes. We had chain faxes actually. You know what? Whatever happened to chain faxes? And for that matter, you know what? We skipped. You know what? I think the fax machine. We never realized its full potential. We started off with phones and party lines and stuff like that. And we skipped like right over to like virtual party lines and chat rooms and cyber sex and all that other crap. We never used the fax machine for that. I think fax sex would have been really fucking weird and cool and funny as shit. Think about that or don't. It's your life. Getting back to music. Oh yeah, chain letters. Hashtag floppy disk as a trend. Hashtag floppy disk as a trend. Let's do this. Now, the question is, Hertz, for the hashtag floppy disk, do we want the 3.5 inch, like the plastic hard shell sexier ones? Do you want like the 5.25 inch, or do you want the 8-inch ones? Those big ass 8-inch floppies, because those things were fucking demonic. Those things were huge. Exactly. Fax a dick pic. We never used the fax to its potential. Anyway, we need to bring back fax sex, folks. Hashtag bring back fax sex. If anybody asks you what it's about, just say you have no fucking idea. This Rob guy is just out of his goddamn mind. All right. Let's hook this up the way that it's supposed to be because I need to make sure. Okay, so volume out for here. And this one here is going to be the same because they're all coming out of the same spot. This is getting its trigger. So now I'm going to mute these two channels. Actually, I'm going to do one better. I'm going to put these in group 1. I'll put these in group 2. I now have a group 1 fader and a group 2 fader. I'm going to mute group 1. And we're going to undo the mute. They sound identical. Both of these signal paths now sound identical. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to modulate this. We need to make this sound a little bit more special. And that's why we got this bad boy here, the 8FO. Did people even have dicks back then? That's a good question. That is a good question. I'm pretty sure there were. I think the propagation of the human race up to that point before the fax machine is proof of that. Don't quote me on that because I wasn't there. I'm not quite that old. So here we go. We now have two completely separate signal paths that sound identical. That's kind of useless for our purposes. We're going to take these mutes off. And we're going to turn that off, and that's fine. Now we want to give some movement. We want them to sound a little bit different. The way we're going to do that was we're going to use what's called an 8FO. If you take a look down here, let me zoom in a little bit, actually. Let me go to View. Let me zoom this sucker right in. And we're going to come here. Yeah, my boy's super excited for me to show this off to you guys. So let's take a look at this row here. So this is set at 6 o'clock. This is set to 9 o'clock. This is set to noon. This is set to 3 o'clock. These are 90 degrees out of phase with each other. And then you have it again. You have one at 315. You have one at 225 degrees, one at 135 degrees, and one at 45 degrees. So there's 8 different waveforms going on here. And to show you this, I'm going to import a scope. So let's go with a scope. So we have 2 inputs to the scope. So if I take this output and I go to input 1, that's what it looks like. If I take one that's slightly out of phase, now I have 2 of them that are slightly out of phase with one another. If I add a third one, can I add a third one? I cannot add a third one, but let's move this one. A little bit more out of phase, way out of phase, etc., etc. I have 8 of these, and they're all slightly offset by a little bit. Get rid of that. So I'm going to use that to kind of move the settings around on this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 8th one we'll keep around for lulls if we need it later. Now this is going to control how fast it all goes. I can also turn on slow mode. Slow mode really slows it down. Except it doesn't make those weird faces like I do. That I know of. Maybe it makes the digital equivalent. We'll have to take a look at that. I'll ask the developers. Check my most recent tags on Twitter. Oh my God. Here we go. This is where I'm about to be ostracized by Twitter as a whole. And honestly, I couldn't care less. Twitter's a cesspool. I may as well have some fun with it. Oh, I have been mentioned in a thread. Oh, there we go. There we go. I have to hold this up for all of you to see. So this, hold on. Let me switch back to OBS, make sure it actually gets on camera. Let me see. Can you see all this? Take a look at that, folks. That is what you call fan dedication right there. That is fan dedication right there. Lieutenant, welcome to the stream. I didn't see you sneak in there. And that's mostly because my everything is borked. I'm running a completely different streaming setup than I have ever done before. But it's been a lot of fun. All right, now getting back to the business of music, because we are ostensibly still making a music stream here today, even though it's been a lot of jokes about my rack and my big unit, as well as my master fader. And by the way, I will not apologize for master fading on stream. Twitch, sorry, I don't care if it's outside the realm of your terms of service. That is a fader. It is mastering the fade of my audio signal. I will master fade. No apologies. Hashtag no regrets. All right. Let's listen to what this sounds like compared to the first bit of whatever. So just for reference, this is the original sound. That's the original sound we started with. Very Deus Ex Machina, very early Ion Storm, very like early, cyberpunk type of thing. Let's little bit different. Little bit of a different sound there, isn't there? And if I move this around, master fade until the cows come home. Funny you should mention that, Lieutenant. Hold on. I have another one that you know what? I need to create an entirely new scene. Give me a moment. I have to create a new scene in OBS just to show this to you guys, because let's go with video capture, add existing webcam. Okay, thankfully this doesn't take too terribly long. I've used OBS before. There we go. Let's kind of sort of center it. I'm not going to be too super picky about how this looks. Give me a second here. I have to find this because it's really relevant to the cows coming home thing. There we go. So let me transition over to this camera, so I can show you on camera. This is a cow that my brother-in-law brought to the local pet store to have its photo taken with the Easter Bunny. I'm going to repeat that. Oh, Lemur, thanks for the lurk, man. I'll definitely have a track for this going up on probably on YouTube by tomorrow or Monday, which will be a bonus track because I already have one created, and Lieutenant was instrumental, pun intended. Always intend your puns. Don't be a fucking coward about it. But Lieutenant was instrumental in helping me with the theme of the track for tomorrow. But yeah, my brother-in-law brought a cow to see the Easter Bunny to have its photo taken with it. My family, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, so here we are. We are back, and we have some modulation going on. It's a little bit different. Let's mix in the original signal. So there's a lot of extra texture going on here, which is really kind of cool. But what happens if we do this and just randomize all these controls? Okay, apparently that was not a good setting. Let's try it again. Random. Now we got to be careful we don't overload the inputs. And that's kind of cool. So now it becomes a texture element instead of an actual like note element. So it's like a percussive thing. Not convinced on that one, though. Oh, I can't undo it. That's awesome. All right, well, let's keep going until we find something cool. All right, not a fan of that one. Need to make sure the attack is nice and short. No, not quite. Not there yet. So that's the default sound. It sounds really boring. Let's keep going. And again, we're going to keep randomizing until we find something cool. I mean, we can always go back and do like what's there already. Bring that drawbar down, And, you know, the 8 and the 4 are there. The attack's way too. Right, so, right, these I'm going to bring. Okay, there we go. This is more percussive than anything else. All right, let's see. Oh, there we go. That's why. There we go. I like this. Now we need to mix this down a little. House of Dread, welcome. Welcome to the stream. We're making some noise. And by the way, we have the module over here, so trigger warning. We also have a master fader, so if you're not somebody who's into master fading, you may want to look away. But I mean, get a load of my rack right here. Look at this rack, isn't it beautiful? You know, and I got a nice big mixing deck. It's a full 8. I can make jokes like this all day, folks. I literally can do this all day. All right. So here we go. We've got that going for us. We're now gonna shut off the monitoring gate. Okay, so we've got this very pretty sound. What are we gonna do with it now? We need to record it. We can't just like leave it on stream. We have to do something with it. We have to mess around with it. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make this a total start to what's going on. Oh, my boy has decided it is time for me to take a break. He wants me to get him a snack. I'm going to get him a snack in just a second. But what we're going to do is we're going to turn this. This is going to be our start stop basically. What are we going to do? Run. There we go. That's what we want. Okay. So things need to be triggered for them to work. We need to turn you here. We need to start stop trigger. And we're going to set this up. So what we have done so far, we've taken the original patch, which is down here. This is the original patch, more or less. I've added a master volume and a master mute button. I've also added a recording module so we can record the audio directly to this computer so we can edit it later. So far, so good. I've also changed the key that we were working in. And I'm going to change this just ever so slightly down a little bit. There we go. I'm going to cut about a couple notes off the top end of this. Then what we did was we duplicated the sound module. All of this stuff that generates the pings and the notes are the same. The filter that we run the notes through has been made different. And now we're mixing it with the original signal. And this new signal is being modulated by this frequency oscillator, which means all I'm doing, think of this oscillator here, this little 8FO unit, as 8 hands moving dials on this module here. It's just somebody rocking the faders around and having some fun. That's what we've done so far. So what we need to do now is start and stop it. So with one button, I can start the record. I can basically make everything fade up and down and record all at the same time. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn this fader all the way up to 10 seconds. So the input fade, as soon as I click start, the first 10 seconds are going to be fade in. When I click the button again, the last 10 seconds are fade out. But I can also use this to control my recorder, which is kind of cool. So this one here, if I hover over this little trigger output, it says running start end trigger output. Outputs trigger pulses at the start of a fade in and at the end of a fade out, which would be perfect for my recording module. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to do that. So now when I start fading in, this starts recording. When I finish the fade out, this stops recording. Automation. Gotta love it. This is what computers were made for. Careful not to master fade too much around the youngin'. You know what. Ginge, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I know. Don't you want to bury your face in this rack? I could master fade on this rack all day. I swear, I really could. I really could. And I'm going to automate it too. It's like one click master fading done. That's efficiency. You can just master fade on this rack until the cows come home, which, as I've shown earlier in the stream, can actually happen. Okay, so we now have the audio chain is set up. The fade times are set up. I need something to open this control. No problem. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that using this external one. And this output is going to go to this external. So this switch is going to click this switch at the same time, as well as anything else that this is connected to, which means anything that has a reset. Reset goes to here, because this has a reset switch. This has no reset. This does have a reset switch. So this reset for the clock is going to go to the master. No, that's actually, sorry, is that the reset input? Where's the reset input? No, it's the reset output. I don't want the reset output. I want a reset input. This one doesn't have it for the clock, apparently, but that's okay. I think it might be the only thing that has a reset. That's pretty cool. I may be done here. So now we're going to test it. So what we need to do is we need to come here to the record module, and we need to right click, and we need to select our output file. I have an external SSD set up. We're going to, what are we recording as? We're recording as a WAV file. We're just going to call this untitled for now, and we're going to save it as the save type. That's fine. We're going to come back here, right click on it. No, right click on it. And we have it as untitled. We're recording as a WAV file. We're going to change that to a 24-bit WAV file for extra recording resolution. And we're going to put it as a 48 kilohertz WAV file. And it doesn't want me to put it as a 48 kilohertz WAV file for some reason. But all right, we're going to record in 24-bit. That to me is better than nothing. So there we go. We should be ready. We should be ready to kick this off. Now, there is one last thing I'm going to do to avoid overload. It should be okay because I'm not seeing any clipping. But I'm going to undo this one for now. This trigger, I'm going to practice. I'm going to make sure that when I click this start button, it's fading in over the first 10 seconds. And I'm going to make sure that I'm not hitting any clipping over here. And it looks pretty good. All right, not bad. I'm going to add a little bit more reverb. Now that is going to add a little bit. Signal's getting crunchy because I have to just pull back on this master output. There we go. So the good thing is, even if the output clips on the stream, which it has a couple times, I've seen the 0 being hit a couple times. I'm not seeing the 0 getting pinned over here, which is a good sign. I'm going to lay back on this so it doesn't hit the 0 as much anymore. So this is going to be a 3, and we should be good. So as you can see, there's a count up timer here, so it's been going for 2.5 minutes. I'm not recording though, because that's not lit. Now, if I want to stop everything, I can just hit this. And now it'll fade out over the next few seconds. And there you go. So this actually should be changed from my start to my stop button. This is actually my stop button. So this starts everything and resets my timers, resets my oscillators, resets my modulators. I just want to time it. I have to time it between the pulses. That's going to be the fun part. This will reset when I reset it. My trigger is going to be set for here for the record. So now comes the cool part, guys, because this isn't the cool part yet. The cool part is coming now. Because what I can do now is I can take the cables and I can make the cables disappear. All the audio cables are still there. They're just not visible anymore. And what I can also do is I can take down the brightness of the room. There we go. Can lower that down. There we go. I think that looks a little more pleasing as far as the stream goes. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to mute my microphone. We're going to let this run for maybe about, I don't know. Somebody tell me how long I should let this run for. How long should we go for? Give me a number between, let's say, 5 and 20. Number between 5 and 20, please. 42. Correct answer to every single question. Okay, 18. So we're going to let this run for 18 minutes. We're going to record 18 minutes of these bleeps and bloops. And then from there, what we're going to do is we are going to bring this into, actually, you know what? I'm going to add those two digits together. I'm going to get 9. And you'll see why in a second because of what we're going to be doing. We're going to run this for 9 minutes. We're going to record 9 minutes of audio, roughly. If there's a couple extra seconds, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to mute my microphone so you guys can have a listen and we can just sort of chat in the chat because that's what chat is for. And at the end of the 9 minutes, we're going to stop this and we're going to pull this into Audacity because, as I said, at the very beginning of the stream, for those of you who aren't here, one of the things that I hear a lot from people when I tell them about what I do on live stream with music is everybody assumes they can't do it. It's too expensive. It's too cost prohibitive. Well, VCV Rack is free. You can actually see it up here in the corner. VCV Rack Free 2.0.6. This is a free program. All the modules I'm using are 100% free. Not free as in I found them on a website somewhere. No, they're actually free. Some of these are even open source and they're available directly from VCVRack.com. So you too can build your own impressive rack. You're welcome, by the way. And so all the modules are free. The program itself is free. And then we're going to bring this into Audacity, which is also 100% free. So for the cost of literally no money, as long as you have a computer, and it doesn't have to be a super high-end computer, you can do this. This is something you can do just by messing around with these modules, playing with your rack, and master fading to your heart's content. So here we go. Let me go into OBS, muting the mic in 3, 2, 1 after, and then after I'm going to go. I should have done the countdown in the other way. But we're going to do the countdown. I'm actually going to get rid of the webcam for this too. Let's just get rid of the webcam. Let's just get rid of the webcam. There we go. Webcam gone. We're going to mute the mic and then we're going to go ahead and start this off and then we're just going to let this do its thing and watch the light show and listen to the music. So we'll see you in about 9 or so minutes. Okay, I think that went pretty well. I think we got ourselves some good material that we can take into Audacity, which is the next step that we're going to do. And I think that we can turn this into something really, really cool and ambient. I mean, this is really nice and sweet sounding as it is. Um, this is something with some very, very minor editing. I would be happy putting into a video format or even as an audio format, putting up on my Bandcamp page or uploading to my YouTube channel. But let's see what we can do with it. Let's see what we can really, really accomplish with this track. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and transition over to Audacity. So let's transition over there. I'm going to go ahead and close VCV Rack to free up some CPU cycles. So that's been done. And now over in Audacity, we're going to come over to File. We're going to import our audio. And we're going to go over here to our scratch disk, open up our untitled composition. And as you can see, as we play this back, and hopefully this plays back properly, let me just go ahead and make sure that this actually plays back correctly. Okay, so everybody can hear it, good. All right, So we can see the fade in, we can see the fade out at the end, and we can see all the pulses in between. Not a very surprising thing. We just finished listening to it about 9 minutes and change. Let me go to the end. It's actually 9 minutes, 2 seconds, and 441 milliseconds long. Oh, my boy has decided he no longer wants his Cool Ranch Doritos, but I will put them here for when he decides he wants more of a snack. Okay, so here we go. Normally what I would do for something like this, oh, and he doesn't want his juice either. We'll put that there. Apparently he is very non-demanding this morning. Okay, anyway. Again, with a little bit of minor editing and tweaking, I would be very happy just putting this in. What would I do as a minor tweak? Well, I would select everything. I would go to edit, and I would duplicate this track. Select the duplicated track, go to effects, and I would normally change the pitch. And I would take this down 1 octave. And I would layer the jingly jangly kind of very ethereal but very kind of like almost wind chiminess of it with like a lower octave, just to give it a little bit of extra oomph and emphasis in the bass end and kind of in the lower mid range. We're going to use the high quality stretch preset, and we're going to hit OK, and then we're going to wait about 2 minutes or so for this to finish its thing, because this is actually this actually is an algorithm that takes quite a bit of time and actually does a really, really good job. They've since fixed it. It used to be really funny in Audacity when you use the and this was like version 3.0, I think. We're in like version 3.1 something. In version 3.0 and before, if you use the high quality stretch preset, it actually introduced a whole ton of digital artifacts which sounded really weird and unnatural, and I would use it primarily for like robot voices because it sounded really cool as kind of a sci-fi robot thing, but it wasn't high quality at all. If anything, it made it sound like really, really terrible. But this one actually does a really, really incredible job. So I'm going to give it the extra time it needs to complete what it's doing. And the weird thing is that because I'm capturing the window and not the display, you actually can't see the countdown timer that I have in front of me. I actually have the window that says applying high quality pitch change and elapsed time, and there's like a little green bar. It goes left to right. You guys can't see any of this. So you're just looking at this screen while I'm narrating what the progress bar is doing. This is why my stream is called the International Academy for the Subtle Art of Talking to Oneself. In case you're wondering, because these are the types of things you just have to do sometimes. But here we go. We only have a few seconds left to go. It is a fairly rigorous, intensive CPU. Well, actually, not even all that intensive on the CPU. I really wish I could say that. It's just not. It's just for some reason it's slow. Because if I go to my task manager, which I can open up without any of you seeing what's going on, and I go to my performance tab, my CPU is only running at about like 30%. It's not really running all that hot. Not doing a whole hell of a lot. But this is still not going any faster. Like I've got 2/3 of my CPU power on tap and it's still not doing anything. But the pitch change has completed. I'm going to lower this down maybe about a decibel or two, just to kind of not make it the exact same loudness as the other one. There we go, 2 decibels. And now we're going to go to the beginning and we're going to play. So you still get all of that chiminess, but now it's a little more balanced in terms of the sonic registers, and you get some low end in there as well. So let me just solo the octave track. So as you can see, it doesn't really go down all that far. So there you go. So we're going to stop that there. Now, I would mix this to taste, maybe add a little bit more thing, maybe a little bit more reverb, maybe a quick delay or something to kind of add a little bit more movement, maybe a chorus effect or something to one of these tracks, usually the lower end track. But I think what I want to try with this is I want to try stretching it out. Let's stretch. Normally people would think, you got 9, Rob. That's a full 9 minutes. That's a big 9 right there. Why do you want to stretch it out even longer? Is it after 9? Once you got 9, is any more going to do you any more good? The answer is yes. More is always better. People will say less is more. That's not correct. Less is less. More is more. I've done the math. Math doesn't lie. Just ask anybody who's an accountant. So here we go. We're going to go to our effects. We're going to go to the Paul stretch, this is just my favorite effect of all time, I think, for making ambient music. I'm going to stretch it by a factor of 2.5, and the resolution we're going to put this at is going to be 1 full second. We're going to mess around with this. We may have to mess around with this in the preview for a bit to find this to taste, but let's go. Preview. And I realize you can't see the preview screen because of the way that I'm capturing this. It's the nature of the beast. When I finally get that second portable monitor that goes next to me here, I will be able to show all of this to you because I'll have a full I'll be able to capture just what's on screen. But until then, we have to go with what we've got. So we've got a stretch factor of 1 second. I like the way it sounds. I'm going to run this, and it's going to take, thankfully, only about like 20 or so seconds for this to complete, even though it's processing a 9-minute file. And then we're going to have a listen to what happens when you stretch your 9 by 2.5 times. And here we go. It's now writing the new waveform. This takes also a few seconds to do because there's quite a bit going on. Just waiting. Take a sip of my refreshing Coca-Cola with no sugar, and you can see the waveform has changed significantly. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to play this back. Let's have a listen. Okay, this sounds fucking epic. I really, really like how this came out. Okay, this is better than expected. Okay, that being said, if we can still screw around with it a little bit, I always will. I'm going to shorten the waveform up so we can see everything, and we can see that this is now a 22.5-minute track. It was 9 minutes. It's now 22.5 minutes. This is kind of the right length that you would want or to get. My son agrees. My boy agrees. He's very agreeable today, which is kind of surprising. It's not usually like this, but that's the power of music right here, folks. One of the things I want to try, let's see what it sounds like if we reverse it. Let's reverse the waveform. Sometimes playing something backwards yields amazing, amazing things. I'm not just talking about all the satanic messages that I've hidden throughout this track. I want to talk about just sometimes the way that a waveform reverses can sound really, really cool. Jimi Hendrix used this to great effect. Actually, a lot of great rock tracks have used this to great effect. You know, like reverse cymbals and stuff like that. Um, there's an amazing backwards guitar solo in REM's "What's the Frequency, Kenneth." Peter Buck learned how to play this. He actually learned how the song went backwards and wrote his solo as if the chord progression were backwards. Went into the studio, recorded the rhythm guitars going forward, but as if they were going in reverse, like the chord progression was reversed. Then he soloed over it. Then they wiped the rhythm tracks and put the solo backwards over the original. It was really cool, and it came out sounding amazing. But that's like that's dedication. I just hit a reverse switch. Let's see what this sounds like. Now, the reason why I want to play backwards like this and see what it sounds like is because we're going to get the reverb first, and the reverb is going to fade into the main signal. Okay. Not a huge difference. Okay. So, we've stretched it out. We've played it forward. We've played it backward. It's amazing either way. But what happens if you play the original track forward and the pitch shifted track backwards? Well, that's what we're going to do now. We're going to actually we're only going to reverse one of these. If we look at the waveforms a little bit more closely now, and we come here, we go back to the beginning, you can see as one is decaying, the other one is fading in, and they're not quite in phase with one another. So there's going to be some movement around. If you're listening to this in headphones, as I am expecting something tremendously cool. Fingers crossed that we have something tremendously cool. Let's have a listen. Let's make these the same volume. I like the way this sounds. Let's try panning this around a little bit. Does that make any effect? Yeah. I kind of like that. Yeah, it sounds like it's got some more movement to me. All right. All right, so chat, what do you think? Should we really, really like push the panning hard on this one? Let's let's try this. Let's go 40% on both sides. That's a lot of panning. That's actually more than I would normally do for a stereo track. Although I might actually split these up in the mono tracks to pan them a little bit more detailed. But let's see. Let's see how this sounds. Let's go back to like here. Because what I want to try and do is have like it swirl back left and right. Very subtle. I don't want it to be like a seasick kind of thing. Like I'm trying to get the stereo image. I'm just trying to cut out the visual stimuli to just listen to see where everything is going. All right, I'm going to try a little bit more panning. We're going to go 50-50, which again, way more than I would normally do, but this track kind of seems to want it. Okay, I'm going to go back to 40. I think 50 is too much. At 50, it becomes a little bit too... little bit too much at 50, but at 40, I think was a good sweet spot. And what we're going to do now is we're going to collapse these waveforms down so I can see the track in its entirety. We're going to select everything. Everything we can do, we need to make this a little bit louder. That's one thing I've noticed. Well, I want to see if there is anything that we can do. I'm going to stretch this out by changing the tempo without changing the pitch, but changing the tempo, I want to change it to 24 minutes. For reasons that will become clear shortly. So it's time to do a little bit of napkin math because my regular math inside my brain sucks. So let's have a look. Let's go to our handy dandy calculator and we're going to do 24 minutes times 60 seconds in a minute. So that's 1440 seconds. So we're going to stretch this out to 1440 seconds, which is a 5.83% tempo change, but no change to pitch information will be made. We are going to use the high quality stretch. I know you can't see any of this, I'm sorry. But it just avoids me having to do the black hole thing every time I switch a window in OBS. So there's that. All right, here we go. Let's hit OK. I'll give you guys the countdown. Wow, this is going to be 16 minutes. That's a long time. Okay, now it's come down to 12 and a half minutes. That's better. It's like an auction caller. It's like, man, we're starting at 16 minutes. Can we get 14? 14, we got 13. 13, okay, we got 13.5. 13.5 going once, going well. Okay, we got 13 minutes, 15 seconds. Yeah, it's on Windows time is what I'm saying. What do we got here? Oh, I have a new follower on Twitter. Look at that. Must be that hashtag that Hertz put out earlier. Yeah, so basically what we're going to be doing is staring at the screen for a little while. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and switch off, I guess, to the main camera, the master camera. No, well, we can keep it as is. I guess, yeah, I mean, it's not really any more interesting just to see my face surrounded by a black border, although my son seems to disagree in the background. Who knows? These are the things that, this is why I need a live studio audience, apparently, so that way I can be told what I need to do as a streamer. Um, by the way, I do want to take an opportunity to point out how much better this webcam looks than my old gaming laptop, and how much quieter this machine is from my old gaming laptop, um, which is probably going to be retired sometime soon. But man, this stream, even this stream thrown together with like chewing gum, duct tape, and like bird spit and twigs, looks way better than some of my other ones from down here. Even though the light is objectively just as terrible, and I can see like the webcam is fading in and out in terms of brightness because it's having a hard time with this stupid bright ass light source that's right next to me that I'm trying to like block out in order to avoid like flooding the scene with light and totally throwing off the webcam. But yeah, so here we go. Let's go back to Audacity, see what we've got. We're down to about 11 minutes now. So now it's sort of stabilized out. It's no longer appearing to be on Windows time. So the whole point of this, of moving it to 24 minutes, is because I find that for what I do in terms of ambient production, if I do a pulse stretch, 2.5 times is really kind of the sweet spot for me. And the cool thing with them is you can chain them. You can do 2.5 times from your X number of minutes and get to the next level and then do it again and stretch it again by 2.5 times. So the reason why I wanted it at 24 is because 2.5 times 24 comes out to a really nice number, a nice even number in terms of number of minutes. And yes, after this tempo change, we are going to see what it sounds like if you take an already stretched track and stretch it out yet again. Because who knows, it sounds really cool and ethereal the way it is now, but how's it going to sound if you stretch it out even further? One thing that you will obviously realize is that the intro will be, the fade in and fade out is going to take 2.5 times longer as well. Necessary evil. But let's see how it all sounds. I think it's going to sound really cool. And all of this coming from a patch that started off from a fellow YouTuber who just puts together these little teeny tiny patches with like 5 or 6 modules that you can run on a really low end system. You don't need a big beefy system for this. It doesn't take a ton of RAM and takes almost no hard drive space. No space on your solid state disk because can you even buy laptops and computers with like mechanical drives anymore? Do they even come with them? Like not as the boot drive. No, or I should say as the boot drive and not as a storage drive because I know they have them for storage drives, but I can't think of the last time I saw a laptop for sale that had a mechanical drive as its boot drive. Let me know in the chat if you guys have ever seen this, like recently, within the last couple of years. Almost everything is SSD. For good reason. SSDs are amazing. And I can only imagine Windows 10 on an SSD is a necessity because Windows 10 on a mechanical hard drive to load is a fucking chore. Absolute fucking chore. I'm on Windows 11 on this machine. I can only imagine how torturous it would be to have Windows 11 loading off of a mechanical spinning platter hard drive, especially like the laptop ones, which, they say they're 7,200 RPM. They're not. They don't feel that way anyway. They definitely don't feel as quick as desktop drives, and that's saying something. Desktop drives are painfully slow. Anyway, all that ranting and rambling, we're down to about another 7.5 minutes of dead air for me to fill. Welcome to the talk show from hell, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Some Guy Named Rob, and I am here to guide you through the International Academy for the Subtle Art of Talking to Oneself. As we are here with the new webcam, probably doesn't look quite as good when it's stretched out like this, because I am running it a little bit higher than its native resolution right now. So I've got the black border around everything, just to make sure that uh, everything doesn't look completely pixelated and distorted. It's only a 720p webcam that's in this one, but you can't have everything. Where would you put it all? But here we go. We This is unfortunately when you're doing production like this, the long part. Editing is always the long part because you have to make decisions and you have to try things out. And the hard part with this, especially with something like Audacity, is it's a destructive editor. And what I mean by that is that you can't just turn an effect on and off to just toggle it like a switch. Like, oh, I want reverb off here, I want reverb on here. No, it's like, no, you've added reverb, it's imprinted on the wave file, has to rewrite the wave file each and every time. So that makes the process a little bit longer. It also means that when you're applying these effects, it's not just overlaying the effect in real time over the wave file, and then you can turn it off if you don't like it. It has to literally rewrite the entire file from beginning to end on your solid state drive. If you don't like it, it does the undo process and rewrites the entire old version. So when I'm applying these effects, it's writing a brand new copy to my drive as a backup copy, and then writing a new version, and it's just a pain in the ass. Is what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm trying to get to. My boy's trying to get me to get to the point. Although if I get to the point, it means I'm going to have even more dead air because we're still down to 6 minutes left before this is all done. So I've only managed to successfully kill about a minute and a half or so explaining things that you already probably figured out when I said this is a destructive editor. Hashtag Robsplain. But this is with a purpose, at least. But yeah, we're in the last 5 minutes or so. So yeah, about 13 minutes to stretch this out, to resample, stretch this out, and rewrite the file to a 24-minute wave. And then we're going to try one more Paul stretch. Because no matter what, if it ends up that 24 is the practical limit of where we're going to stop, I'm happy. This was amazing. This was a great experiment. The fact that it came out as well as it did, I'm like, hurrah. This is amazing. This is awesome. When I started this stream, I thought, okay, I have a patch. I have 3 jokes that I can make, including my Master Fader joke, which I basically beat to the ground. And, we've had that. And then it's like, okay, but what's it going to sound like in the end? Is this going to sound even remotely listenable? Is it going to sound cool? Oh, Lieutenant, sorry, I'm back. Square Enix really fucked something in Final Fantasy. Square Enix fucks everything up. Square Enix killed the Deus Ex franchise, and I will never forgive them for that. They allowed Invisible War to happen. If you've never played Deus Ex Invisible War, don't. It's a waste of time. Complete waste of time. First wave of the new housing lottery finished today, and every plot with only one bidder lost their bid to nothing. Yeah, that sounds about right. That definitely sounds like Square Enix. You sure Ubisoft isn't in charge of that as well? Did they co-author that algorithm? It's unreal, the state of video games today. I just can't anymore. I can't. I think the most recent game that I have purchased, and it may be the last video game I ever purchased that's like beyond that point. I think that's going to be my new cutoff unless something really amazing comes out. Is Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium is like the last game the most recent game that I own in my library. As far as release date goes, is Disco Elysium. I don't think I can go beyond that, and even then, that's not a AAA title, not by a long shot. Although I do want to get Humankind. I think Humankind is going to be another great game. I've played the demo, and I like it, and everybody I know who's played it really likes it. They won't spoil it for me, which is usually an indicator that they really think I'm going to enjoy the game. Um, because when I have like friends of mine, I know when friends of mine want to not recommend me a game by how much of the game they spoil for me, especially strategy games with how much of the strategy, like how to actually break the AI. A couple friends of mine really did not care much for certain games, and they'll just tell me how to cheese my way to victory, which is hilarious and awesome all at once. Disco Elysium is amazing. So many people lost their bids that the company support system has crashed. Okay, let me take that back. Are you sure Bethesda didn't co-author this bidding thing? People can take their gill back, but I'm not going to do it. I just report it and push it to the limit. You know what? I think you should. I think you should. These developers have been getting away with murder for years. They've been getting away with absolute murder and bullshit for years. I'm gonna switch back to the cam for Audacity, by the way, because we're almost done with Audacity. Audacity is just in the final couple of minutes of stretching out this wave file to the 24-minute mark. But yeah, no, I absolutely think that you should go and just take it to the limit and break their system. Just fuck with them. Waste their time as much as you can. Um, this is how you screw with big corporations who put out shit products. Is you use their technical support and their ticketing system because they have to invest a lot of money in that. That's a lot of resources that they have to devote to things. Oh, Hertz is back, but Hertz thinks that they may have made a mistake. Hertz, what mistake have you made? Did you go ahead and try starting to, or let me English that again for you. Did you go ahead and start building that PC without me? I'm just wondering. As we get into the final minute and change of our tempo change. Okay, so that mistake was not made. Was it a mistake in sourcing your parts? Does this have anything to do with a computer? A food mistake. Okay. So it's not a computer mistake. Unless you put food in your computer. It is a DVD-ROM. It is not a cup holder. For those of you who still have DVD drives in your towers. For those of you who still have towers. God, I'm fucking old. Okay. Um, okay, so what is this food mistake? What is this food mistake that you may or may not have made? Let's How about bring it to chat? We will decide for you if you've made a mistake. Because that's the beauty of the internet is we do all the thinking for you. All right, let's see. Oh, I have a DM. I have a DM from Hertz on Point. Okay, I see what looks to be a very large bowl of baked beans. Now, that in and of itself is not a mistake, because baked beans are delicious, especially if you add bacon to them. And you should add bacon to them because bacon makes everything better, including adding bacon to more bacon. Hashtag life hacks. So yeah, now the only thing I can think of is if you're finding this a mistake, like if you have like a really important date. If you're trying to impress someone for a job interview, that might be a slight mistake. My boy behind me is agreeing with me. And while we're discussing that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to run another Paul stretch on this, by the way. So 2.5 times 24, this is going to be fun. This is going to stretch this out, if I'm not mistaken, to 1 hour in length. Let's go ahead and stretch. How far can we take this? And it's only going to take about 1.5 minutes to do so. Microwave the entire bowl on top of a sandwich and a bowl of chips. Dear God, sir, how hungry were you? Like, do you only eat like once a month? You're not an anaconda. You're a human being, sir. Your poor toilet. That's all I'm going to say. Your poor toilet. No, you don't need breakfast for the next week. You're gonna be like laying down on the floor like a python that's just swallowed a gazelle. Like when you finally go to the toilet, it's gonna be like it's gonna take a while. Like bring a newspaper, like a physical newspaper, or at the very least, if you're gonna bring your cell phone, bring a full battery bank with you, because you're going to need it. First time chat from ETP Breakfast. Are you Bud Spencer / Terrence Hill? Not usually, no. I try not to be. Almost always I'm some guy named Rob. Although ETP could have been speaking to Hertz. It's not specified, but welcome to the chat. Welcome as we fill a ton of dead air as you cannot see the countdown timer on the Paul stretch that's going on this particular file. So we have gone ahead as we shrink this down, and I am correct. We are at the 1 hour mark. Or I should say this file is 59 minutes, 59 seconds, 0.65. Oh, no worries. I'm also, yes, Some Dad Named Rob is also, I also go by Some Dad Named Rob. I tell some dad jokes often. I named those Steve, oddly enough. The jokes themselves are named Steve, which is strange, but, you just roll with those types of things. Okay, this is not a game of who the fuck is Bud Spencer today. Look, it's not past the Bud Spencer day. I checked the calendar. We don't do that around here. But what we are going to do around here is we're going to listen to this track now that we have gone and stretched it one more time by a factor of 2.5 times to 1 hour in length. As my boy behind me is cheering me on. You can hear him through the microphone. So let's go ahead. Let's get over this hill and nip it in the bud. I see what you did there. Lieutenant, I see what you did there. Let's go ahead and play this track. What do we got here? Hertz asks, are you sure you're making songs and not VR game soundscapes? I'm not sure of anything I do in life, sir. But this actually sounds very, very, very nice. I like this a lot. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and stop this here. We're going to boost the volume, though. It's not loud enough. Definitely not loud enough. So this is at 0. This is at -1. I need to go ahead and I need to amplify this a little bit. We're going to boost this by, let's say, 2 decibels. And this, of course, is going to take a goddamn dog's age because it now has to calculate. Oh, no, okay, it's only taking a few seconds. Oh, good. There we go. That's refreshing. All right, let's make it louder. ETP, the original sample. This actually, I don't know where you came in the stream. We're about 2 hours and 20 minutes in. But yes, Lieutenant is correct. This was a 9-minute clip that we took from VCV Rack 2. And it was a patch that was based off of one of the Tiny patches from Tiny VCV Patches, who's a fellow YouTuber. So we took the Tiny patch that was created. It was Tiny patch, I believe, number 46. We added to it. We modulated it, we modified it, and we recorded about 9 minutes. And then we brought it into Audacity. From Audacity, we executed a pulse stretch of 2.5 times. Oh, you came in when I was talking about the state of gaming. Yeah, that doesn't narrow it down because I tend to rant a lot about the state of gaming. I'm old. I'm old in internet years, as you can tell by the nice long white beard. But yeah, it's the whole thing with this stream. Okay, this sounds beautiful. I'm just going to go ahead, make sure it's not too terribly loud in the background and drowning me out totally. So yes, it is normal. Do not adjust your headsets. I actually did lower the volume on it just to keep it as background music for me. But yeah, this has been amazing, by the way. Yeah, this was all done in VCV Rack. VCV Rack has been amazing. Once version 2 came out, I downloaded it, I believe on day 1 of VCV Rack. I've actually found out about VCV Rack from Ben Jordan, who's a YouTuber that I follow. I came across one of his videos for VCV Rack version 1, and I saw the tutorial that he put on. I also saw there was a video by Venus Theory showing off VCV Rack, and I thought, oh, I need to get this for myself. And then I saw that VCV Rack 2 was coming out like in a day and a half, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait. And then I downloaded the new version. I've been playing around with it since, and just been taking inspiration from like other patches that I've seen online, messing with settings, and then pulling them into Audacity, and just absolutely dicking around with everything. Hertz, you are not regretting the beans right now anywhere near what you are going to regret them later. Like, your level, this is your level of regret now, and your level of regret later won't even fit within the scope of the webcam of what it can take. And I don't even think my arm is long enough to reach that high. You will regret this, sir. More importantly, anyone who follows you into that bathroom is going to regret it. There's going to be a lot of regrets. You know, there's the tattoo, no regrets. Yours is going to be all of the regrets. Hashtag all of the regrets. But yeah, this sounds beautiful. This sounds absolutely ethereal and beautiful. And yeah, I love what we've done with this. We're going to kind of lock this one in as is. I don't really see much change needed, other than let's see at the beginning what it looks like. So the fade in is nice. And of course, we've got the cyclical type of thing. We've got a little bit of panning going on, so there's going to be movement around in the stereo field. We're going to have to stop it because Audacity is a pain in the ass when it comes to trying to scroll through your file. But we're going to come here to the end, and we're going to open this up and see how the fade out goes. So the fade out is nice. I will adjust the fade out slightly for both channels. Right about here, and then we're going to throw studio fade out on this. Studio fade out, there we go. So that way there's a little bit of headroom at the end, so it doesn't cut off abruptly. Also, the rest of the beans are going to the can. All of the beans eventually are going to the can, Hertz. They're just not going to resemble beans anymore when they get to the can. And when you get to the can, as I say, bring a battery bank for your phone. You're going to need it. Trust me. As someone who has had many opportunities to make poor life decisions, you can learn from me. And that's really what life is all about, is learning from other people's horrible decisions. There we go. Okay. So yeah, we have modified the fade out time for both. The fade in time is fine, so it's not going to screw up in terms of, I just want to see what this is going to do, because this looks a little janky. I want to make sure there's no clipping here. Nope, no clipping. Perfect. No clipping. It's nice, and it's got a good volume level. There we go. We can export this. We can lock this one in and export. Export audio. Now, okay, chat, we need a title for this. We've been calling this Untitled this entire time. This is a beautiful, ethereal track. It is everything that is not the noises that will be coming out of Hertz later on when those beans kick in. It is the antithesis of Hertz's Beans adventure. So we need a title that represents that. We need something that is the antithesis of the ugliness of the sounds that Hertz's body will be making when those beans finally reach their logical and extreme conclusion. So what are we going to name this track? Because we need to name this. This needs to have a name. No beans. A little on the nose, but we're okay. Let's see what we can. Although, along with the sounds that Hertz's body will be making, the odors will be very much on the nose as well, and not in a pleasant way. All right, let's get a FLAC ready here, and we are going to call this. Hold on. Let's bring up a web browser here. I know you can't see the save title. You can't see any of the stuff I'm doing because I'm not screen capturing. I'm only capturing a specific window. So let's go. Oh, hold on. You know what? ETP, you've got something here. Let me try something. In fact, now is the time I think would be a good idea to open up. There we go. We're going to open up Edge. No thanks. We're going to close you. Got it. We're going to add another scene to OBS. Edge. We are going to add a source. And it's going to be a window. Window capture. Edge. Oh, is it already in use? Okay. MS Edge. Okay. There we go. Okay, we're going to switch over to this. And now that we're in Edge, we're going to do a web search. And we're going to search for Latin phrase translator. I want to translate from English to Latin. And we're going to choose English, if we can find English on this stupid list. There we go. English. In the absence of beans. So here we go. I've got it. We're gonna play off of this Latin here. Absente faba, which actually is the translation for in the absence of beans. And we are gonna call this, as we come over to our track, we're gonna call this faba in absentia. And I'm gonna spell it properly. I have to. How the fuck do you spell it? I gotta go back to it. In absentia. There we go. Faba in absentia. There we go. We are now calling this Faba in absentia. This is the name of the track. and, and yeah, anybody who comes over to this and listens to this or sees the name of the track at some point on my YouTube channel is going to go, what does that mean? And they're going to translate it and they're going to wonder what the fuck is going on. So I'm going to have to link to this web stream, to this live stream. So Faba in absentia, we're going to go with a level 8 here, and I know you can't see it. We're going to do bit depth 16-bit, best quality FLAC file for Faba in absentia, and we're going to save it. Tracks will be mixed down and exported as stereo. We know that. We're going to put in our tag information, something Humble Studios. Faba in absentia. The year is 2022. The genre is ambient. There we go, ambient. We're going to take the software version out because we don't need it. And we are going to hit OK. And it is now exporting. All right, take a good have a good one, Lieutenant. I'm also going to be taking a break shortly, because as much fun as this was, naming a stream after the absence of what Hertz has done to his own body, I do have to feed my boy lunch. I have to feed myself lunch. It won't be beans. We will remain Faba in absentia. But yeah, we're gonna export this. This will go up on my YouTube channel at some point. Give me just a moment. I will post a link to my YouTube channel for anyone who is looking to take a look at some of the other stuff that I've done or have a listen. So here we go. This is my YouTube channel. No need to subscribe, although I would appreciate it. Always appreciate a subscribe to my YouTube channel. But this is where the Faba in absentia in its entirety will be going, and I will be putting a video component to this together. And honestly, there are all kinds of things that are going through my head as far as what I'm going to do in terms of video. I'm probably going to be busting out After Effects for this. This is going to be worth it. I'm going to fire up my main workstation later tonight, and I will be using After Effects to put together a suitable video for Faba in absentia. But yeah, that is cool. It will not. Unfortunately, it's too long to be on my Bandcamp page. But for anyone, all of my music from Bandcamp is on my YouTube channel, so you guys can take a look at that, you guys and gals, and all points in between, of course. So what are we going to do now? Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to come over here. I'm going to take a look at what is going on here? Why is my okay, cancel. There we go. I don't know what the hell that was all about. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is, now that we've saved our track, well, I'm going to take a look. Is there anybody that I want to bring this party to? In terms of audience, and Empress is playing Valorant. Empress is an art streamer. but also a gamer, also a really incredible person. We're going to go ahead and raid her channel. And I encourage all of you to give her a follow and check her out. She's really awesome, really, really nice person. We're going to start this raid. We are going to wish all of you a happy Easter weekend, wherever and whenever you are, and just have yourselves a fantastic, fantastic rest of your day. And we will be back sooner rather than later. Take it easy.